Hey everybody, so this is the 50th anniversary Ritchey Outback steel gravel frame set, and this is a build that I've been planning for months with the guys over at Ritchey. Now I first got a chance to ride this bike when Ritchey sent over a demo model to the channel when I was first starting out. Now to this day, the Ritchey Outback is still one of my favorite gravel bikes, so I'm super excited to build one up for myself, and I hope you'll follow along and enjoy the process with me. So starting at the front, this is a 1 1/8 non-tapered straight steer. Now this frame uses an integrated headset, which is really nice because there's no bearing cups to press in. And also the fully carbon fork uses an integrated crown race. For now I'm going to add a bunch of spacers and give myself a little bit of extra steer tube to work with. So I got a 68mm shell here, and I'm using the White Industries BSA bottom bracket. Now these install like any other external bottom bracket, but because I'm using the G30 crank and spindle combination, I don't need any spacers for this setup. Now for the chainring, go with the silver to match the cranks, of course, and this is a 40-tooth non-boost, so it's got a 3mm offset. Actually, I believe this is just a bottom bracket tool. We've got to get 40 Newton meters. Bring out the big boy again. There we go. Oh man, that looks so good. Look at that. The instructions explicitly say don't be shy about torquing to spec. Now I have the left side semi-cinched down, so I'm okay using that for leverage. But wow, 50 Newton meters is a lot. There we go. A lot of torque. Now with the crank arms torqued down, you'll notice that there's still a little bit of play side to side. We're going to use this preload ring. You're supposed to basically tighten it down until there's just barely no play. And you're supposed to back it off by 1/6 of a turn, then we'll cinch down this screw, which clamps this preload ring into place. So there's no torque spec for this, but it's a 1.5mm Allen wrench, so just looking for enough to kind of keep that in place, like so. Got the classic Ritchey Venture Max handlebars. Now these are the Ritchey Classic Zeta disc wheels. These are awesome. The finish is super nice, they're relatively light, and the aesthetic suits this bike perfectly. Now the only thing that concerns me slightly is the 19.5mm inner rim width. Now that does seem a little bit narrow by today's standards, especially because my plan is to run these René Hurst Oracle Ridge tires, which are 700C by 48. We may get a little bit of this sort of balloony tire profile, but I'm just gonna put them on there and kind of see how it looks. Yep. Now for the cassette, I'm going with the Garbaruk 11-50, little gold accents. I thought these would be subtle, but wow, this is incredibly light. You can see it's all machined out of one piece except the big ring, which really reduces the weight because you don't have individual rings for each of the cogs. Just curious here. Wow, 317 grams. I'm greasing the whole free hub body, but really only need to grease like sort of the bottom and the top here. That's the only spot where the cassette actually makes contact, but you know, creature of habit. So this is a GRX RX 812 rear derailleur. You could probably get away with going like maybe 46 tooth without having to use one of those Goat Link or Road Link extenders here. But because I've got the 11-50 tooth cassette, there's basically no chance that in stock form this derailleur will be able to accommodate that range. So what we have is the Garbaruk extended cage. So basically the idea is we'll just replace the lower cage and pulleys, and without any other modifications I should just be able to run the 50 tooth cassette. That's gonna look good, I think. So these are the Grotech Equal brakes. These are super hot right now, and they're supposed to rival the power of the Paul clampers. So of course I went with silver here just to kind of match the theme of the bike. They're pretty light. They're definitely smaller in form factor than the clampers. So I will use this guy here so that I can run 160mm rotors in the rear. It basically just offsets the mounting holes to accommodate a larger rotor. So you get all these different mounting bolts, which is really nice because different frames have different depth sort of mounting surfaces. The shortest bolts here are going to be the best option. That's about 9mm, so that's about perfect right there. Okay, so I have a section of the flexi housing here right on this like tight bend, and then I've got a coupler right here that goes to the compressionless. I think what I am going to try doing is running full housing on the shifting and come up underneath the down tube and basically run it parallel to the brake housing. So this is just temporary. Mainly I just want to do this so I can cut the housing to the right length. So this kind of housing with the parallel wires really makes it kind of impervious to compression, hence compressionless housing. So all of the cable tension in the inner cable gets sort of translated to the calipers. And add our finishing touch, which are, of course, cable cherries from Forger Cycles. My gosh, I'm gonna lose this thing. Oh, perfect. Looks great. Wow, there's like no resistance and then very solid bite point when you hit the pads. I know I've still got to bed these brakes in, but for now they're feeling really good. What I have here right now is a Microshift bar end shifter, but I happen to be talking to Russ from Pathless Pedal, and we were talking about the new Uno bar end shifter that he's been developing with Diacomp, and I basically told him that I'd be happy to replace this with the Uno shifter, give it a try on this Outback build, and then offer some feedback. So since this build is already taking several days, I'm going to do everything else that I can now while I wait for Russ to send over the Uno shifter so that I can try it on this bike. Okay, so this is the new one lever that Russ has been collaborating on. Oh, this thing is nice. And I believe this is what he was talking about in some of his videos. I think this Phillips head screw is probably going to be replaced with an Allen head bolt for the final release. Got that nice ratcheting action. Sounds really nice, feels really good. Obviously the aesthetic matches this bike perfectly. So pretty excited for this. Oh, and bonus, save the front derailleur sticker. I like that. Feels really nice actually to get that click action on the way up and then the resistance on the way down. I do realize that there is this little gap right here, and that's because the cable stop for the Microshift shifter that I will eventually be using on this bike is set back a little bit further than the Uno shifter. So because I don't want to have to, redo the entire tape job on the bars, I just have the Uno set up with this slight gap here. But it's not going to affect the performance at all, and there's still like another inch or so of compression plug in the handlebar. Alright, so we are getting pretty close here. Drivetrain is done. It shifts perfectly. I think I'm actually going to really like having this full cable housing run underneath the down tube. I don't know, I think it just looks a lot cleaner. Now, of course, it's not necessary, but it kind of is. I'm using a matching microfiber bar tape from Brooks. And this color here is supposed to match the saddle color, which kind of brings the whole bike together, if you ask me. Alright, I just need to put the finishing touches on it. I think that's pretty much going to be it. And there we go. Alright, well I think that is going to do it. We have a complete 2023 50th anniversary Ritchey Outback here, and I couldn't be happier. This build turned out absolutely perfect. It was a long time in the making to get all the parts that I wanted, but everything went together as planned, and I immensely enjoyed this build process. Now you will definitely see this particular build featured on this channel a lot more, and I'm really excited to get some miles on it and make a bunch of videos as I go. Thanks again for following along, and thanks for subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.